Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do a little bit of a custom repaint job on a couple of baits, so kind of be a 2-for-1 deal. So let's get to it. Now before we get into what these baits are going to be, I wanted to go over a couple of things. Number one is preparing the bait. I like to use a Scotch-Brite and just take it and abrase over the bait, get all the excess paint off of the bait, shine it up a little bit, get it ready for the actual application of the new paint. You can see this has got some shiny spots still. I need to hit that a little bit, but this is one of the baits we're repainting today. It is a Whopper Plopper 130 in just that straight white. I don't like the straight white. I like more of a ghost color. But we're gonna do something a little bit different. It's gonna be ghost as far as the, not ghost, bone. Gonna do a bone color, that's the color I like. And once we get that bone on there, we're gonna do a little bit to add some accent to it, but just a little bit. So that's one of the ones we're gonna do today is the Whopper Plopper. The other one is this Injected Lunker Punker by Black Dog Baits. Now you can see this one took a little bit more to get some of the paint off of it. I actually sanded on it with a little bit of a light grit sandpaper. This was a bait I painted a while ago with a shaker can. One of the first things I ever repainted. Really didn't dig how it turned out just because of the color. So I've removed most of that shaker can paint. It may not look like it, but it is. And we are going to put some airbrush paint on there, get this sucker resealed, some new eyes and all that, and we ought to be ready to rock and roll. But the thing about it is, you gotta prepare these baits right. I like to go through, make sure all the eyelets are lined up, tweak them a little bit if I have to. Those are the little things that make that bait really tuned, really well, and ready to hit the water once you get that new paint job on them. All right, we got that pearl white on the belly now. That's setting up. As soon as it's cured a little bit longer, we're gonna put some masking material over this to create a scale pattern that obviously will go on top of the other scale pattern. But it'll create a little bit of depth. And then we're gonna come in and layer in some of that fastback green, along with some darker greens up around the eyes and on the top of the back. And that'll pretty much be it. Pretty simple bait, but I think it's gonna look really slick once we get her done. So let's get that masking material on and get back to painting. All right, we're about done with this guy already. Let's get it out of these clips. And let's check out the pattern. Hopefully it's subtle. That's what we were targeting. Gonna get rid of all these guys. That fastback green goes on there with that slightest of greenish blue hue. It's yeah, I like it. It's kind of cool. So let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, I'm digging that. Now we might go back and hit the top, and we will, with some of the moss green like we used a second ago, just to darken up some of that, and maybe even just a highlight back in around those, just to darken it up a little bit. But that is just about right. So we'll get this back in here, and we'll get that green on there, and then we'll be ready for eyes and clear coat. The eyes are going to be a little bit weird on this because these eyes, you can't really tell, but they're very deep inset. They're probably 1/8 of an inch inset. So I'm trying to think, and we'll still continue to think about it while we do this other part, but how do we do that where the eye isn't just so far in there that it looks awkward? But we'll see what we come up with. We got a couple minutes here. All right, I made a decision. I hope it works. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna use a little bit of the baking soda and some thin super glue to build up that layer just a little bit. And when I say it just a little bit, I'm talking a 1/16 of an inch or so. And I'm just gonna be really, really careful and just tap that till it's kind of level. That looks pretty good. Make sure it's even all over there. I know it's not gonna be perfect, folks, but given the circumstance and wanting to fill that in, this is what we're gonna do. So here we go with the super glue, very careful. It spits sometimes. It spit on my hand. And just like that, we'll let that sit and cure. And then here in just a couple minutes, that'll be ready for the actual eye, and it'll be built up a little bit. You can see it's already almost all the way dry. And then we'll hit the other side. That'll create a bed for the eye where it's not so inset. Like I said, not perfect, but whichever. Let's hit this other side. Again, just a little bit here. Okay, that's ready. I know that's probably out of camera, sorry. And there we go. So we'll let that sit, cure, do its thing. I can be done holding my breath because that was a little stressful. And then we will get the regular eyes in there momentarily. All right, I went back and darkened up those eyes after I got the that resin or that super glue and baking soda cured up. Now we're gonna go ahead and, oh boy, before I put that super glue in there, we're gonna use 7mm eyes. That's the right size for this bait. And I wanna use something that's kind of a silvery holographic like this. It's got a little bit of a yellow, but it's definitely a hollow eye. They just work really well. So I'm gonna put a healthy drop in here. Same on the other side. This is the gel stuff. I prefer using the gel for the eye sockets, just personal preference, I guess. And we will get the first eye in there, ever so delicately. Oh yeah, that worked out really well. That putting that bedding material in there, put it just right flush with the bait like it's supposed to be. Low stress, low stress. Get this lined up so it's the same as the other one. There we go. Boom. All right, now we're just gonna let those sit, cure for a few minutes, and we'll be ready for the clear coat on this one. All right, guys, you can see here we've got this thing recolored in a moss green, that detail moss green. I covered the whole bait because we're gonna do something a little bit different. I am going to apply a different masking material, not this stuff that we used on the last one, and then we're gonna go and hit it with the regular white, then the bone, and some other little layering tricks. to give this thing a real unique look. So let's get to that masking and then on with the next layers of paint. All right, here's the masking material. This is that wire mesh that we've used in the past. Make sure this is good and dry. Do not ever install masking material over wet paint because it just won't work out very well for you there. This stuff is a little less user-friendly because it is a kind of a metal. So you got to use a little bit more clamps, these alligator clips or whatever you want to use, whatever your preference is, I guess. You can though hook it like that, like I just did, where it won't come off of the line tie there, and then you can start pulling it tight everywhere else. Like I said, this is not an easy product to use, so just take your time. All right, we got this thing all masked up nice and tight. Now off camera, I am gonna hit it with this opaque white nice and lightly. I'm not gonna go too heavy with it. I'm gonna turn my air pressure way down just to give it a new base coat. And then once that's done, we're gonna start doing a layering technique with a couple of colors, including mixing up that bone color. So here in just a flash, we'll be right back and this thing will be white. Well, all right, there she is, mostly white. Now, I know it's mostly white because I really didn't put on a heavy coat. I wanted to go real light. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put on a coat of transparent orange, this stuff, but very lightly again, just creating a little bit of a shadow effect that we'll use once we put our bone color on. So again, off camera, just gonna coat the whole thing in this transparent orange, and then when we come back, it'll be ready for the bone. All right, and there she is, a subtle orange. Very light coat again, not trying to go too heavy with this, and I think it's just enough. So now what we're gonna do is mix up that bone color, then we're gonna come back and we're gonna do a layering technique where you shoot at an angle, which will prevent it from kind of revealing all of the or covering all of the orange, obviously not covering the green that's underneath, and then we'll end up with a kind of three-dimensional pattern that will be pretty damn unique, I guess, with the green and the orange. All right, there's our bone all mixed up. Use just the regular opaque white mixed with literally one drop of that detail yellow. I mixed up a little more than I thought I would need. I'm gonna set that aside. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this over here. I wanna get it straight up and down, hopefully without jacking up the masking too badly. There we go. I'm gonna turn my air pressure down significantly. Okay, it's spraying. Not great, but it's spraying. I'm gonna turn it up just a touch. Now it's spitting. That's not good. We're gonna turn it up a little bit more. All right, I think that's a low enough air pressure where we'll achieve what we're trying to achieve without, there we go, without any issue. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold it on an angle, pretty steep angle, and I'm gonna go straight back. And I'm gonna do that over this entire bait. And then we're going to basically, if you do it right, which I probably need to hold it like this, make sure I ain't, because of the shape of the bait, it should reveal, when we get done, a little bit of the orange behind the wire where this is spraying, right? Because it's gonna act as a shield. So here we go. All right, got done heat setting for a while. So let's take this off. The cool thing is, you know you've done this right when it looks white like this, and then it still looks orange on the backside. See how that orange shadow is still there? That is a good indication it was probably pretty successful. Oh, actually a little bit of the orange did show through up top, but I like it. I dig it. It's a little bit different, not as much of the orange as I would have liked. What we're gonna do really quick is I am going to hit the belly with some of the bone that's left. I purposely left some loaded up. Just like this. Takes a lot to cover that dark green up. So that's like that. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and get this set back into our cradle, and then we're going to, come on, there we go. Then we're going to take it, and I am going to put a little bit of orange flash in the belly, then we'll be ready for eyes and clear coat. All right. We got the Alumilite UV here. It's that good stuff. I really like it. Works really well. We're just gonna set that aside, and this is gonna be a little tricky. Not a lot tricky, but a little tricky. So we're gonna take one of our shorter little hangers here. I need to crimp that down just so it doesn't come off, without squeezing on the paint too. That would be good, John. I don't think that'll come off now. Nope. Okay. Now, you can see that's a problem, right? We're going at an angle, that'll help. But I also have a brush here that let me get the brush kind of out of its little holder, that I've used for UV painting before, so if we have to, we can use that to kind of scoop some onto it. The other bait, we're gonna spray with a automotive clear coat, do a bunch of layers on that. But because it's a jointed bait, it has to be done a little bit different. So here we go with Mr. Plopper. Nice and easy into the clear. I'm gonna go at an angle, trying to get maximum coverage here. And as you can see, we had an epic fail on the top of the bait, but that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of drizzle it on as if it was dipped, making sure we get good coverage on the whole dadgum thing. Anywhere where there should have been clear, there needs to be clear. Gonna spin it around, make sure I got this side good, which I did not. This stuff is so stinking thick. And then across the top of the head here. Now once I've got it where it's just like it was dipped, just like now, I'm satisfied. I think it's plenty good. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up and start letting it to drip all the way off. A big bait like this, you could waste a lot of clear coat if you just let it drip off onto a plate or something like that. So I'm gonna be here for a minute letting this drip. Then we're gonna hang it in the UV chamber, and it should be ready here in about a half an hour, and we're gonna get to spraying that other bait. All right, all clear coated and ready to, I guess, plop. It's all still free spinning. Clear coat's on. It's nice and smooth. Turned out really, really cool. I dig it. Could have been a little bit more on the yellow side on the bone color, but I really think it turned out well. Got that light little misting of orange on the belly. This thing is definitely pretty damn wicked. I like it. And last but certainly not least, that plopper. Or not plopper. Lunker Punker. There it is. That thing is just glass. It looks clean. That color pattern is super nice. Very subtle. That blue in there, that fastback green color that gives it that blue hue right down that lateral line. Just super clean. I dig it. I just dig it. I think it's gonna catch some fish. That's all there is to it. All right, there it is, another video down. I hope you enjoyed those quick painting sessions with those two baits. I did. They were fun. It's always interesting trying to come up with a unique new idea or a pattern. I can't wait to use that Lunker Punker, to be honest with you. That thing is just awesome looking. The plopper is going to work too, no doubt about it, but I just really, really am pleased with the way that Lunker Punker turned out. If you're a new subscriber, I appreciate it. If you're an old subscriber, appreciate you too. And if you're not a subscriber and you're just thinking about checking me out, then maybe hit that button and see my future content, because it's always coming out. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next video.
Keep dancing with the devil, but he doesn't allow